This house is dedicated to knowledge and to the spreading of knowledge. Elijah Muhammad inspired new thought, new mind, new way of civilization among black people. But he wanted a house from which a light could be lifted up to give guidance to all who would be guided as this world begins to close down. This National Center for the re-education and retraining of the black man and woman, but for the totality of the human family of our planet. I named this mosque after the only woman that the Quran names a chapter after, the mother of Jesus, Maryam. All human beings need to be re-educated. That is the purpose of the National Center.
Now you can get the same uncompromising truth you've come to expect from the Final Call newspaper on all your connected devices. Subscribe to the Final Call Digital Edition today. Go to subscribe.finalcalldigital.com.
Greetings to you. I'm Brother James Muhammad, your host for this week's segment of Closing the Gap, and we're welcoming all of you to our listening and viewing audience. Thank you for tuning in, taking time out of your busy schedules to share with us your time, your attention. We have a wonderful show in store for you this evening. We are blessed to have the return of one of our brothers and fellow students in the ministry. He was here last week with student minister Demetric, and the subject matter, of course, was understanding Master Fard Muhammad. This week, we will be discussing, inshallah, God willing, we'll be discussing conflict resolution as the prerequisite for nation building. Before we go any further, I want to thank Almighty God Allah for my co-host, Brother Student Minister Chad Muhammad. Brother Chad, if you'd like to greet the viewing and listening audience, go right ahead, dear brother.
Yes, assalamu alaikum, family. Glad to be here.
And I'd also like to thank Allah for our engineers in the background who are making this happen. We have a newcomer who is helping us, a young brother named Brother Kamal X. And we thank you, Brother Kamal, for taking time out of your busy schedule to assist Brother Michael and to help us so we can iron out any anticipated bumps in the technology. Before we go any further, I want to open up the show in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, the one God, to whom all praise is due, the Lord of the worlds. We thank Almighty God Allah for his merciful and prophetic intervention in our affairs in the person of Master Fard Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
And we thank him for raising up from our midst his messenger Messiah, the exalted Christ, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, through whom we have been given our beloved and blessed Redeemer, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. In their names, once again, I want to greet all of you with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, my brother.
As I before stated, dear family, we're blessed, twice blessed, with the return of our dear brother and student minister of Muhammad Mosque, number 46 in New Orleans, Louisiana. The subject matter this evening will be, inshallah, conflict resolution. And we're looking at that in the context of it being the prerequisite to nation building. The unfortunate reality is we have become almost the number one destroyers of self.
That's right.
Yeah.
And as long as the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad has been preaching, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in his absence, on the importance of unity and the importance of self-love, we yet are confronted with this problem. And so I want to say I'm going to read his bio once again. I know he doesn't want me to do it, Brother Willie, if you pardon me, because I was blessed to attend his course in conflict resolution. It's very, very informative, very inspiring. And I hope you talk about that class that you gave tonight.
Yes, sir.
And Brother Willie actually has been recognized by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as one of the foremost under the heading of the 10,000 Fearless and Resolution Conflict. If you all remember the instructions of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan regarding our coming together and resolving conflicts. The 10,000 Fearless were premised upon and are premised upon 10,000 fearless men and or women that are not afraid of standing between the guns and the gangs, the so-called gangs.
Yes.
Bring about the unifying word and teachings of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He's very, very, very proficient in instructing us in methodology in that regard. We just can't walk in front of people, and break up fights without some science or methodology. And he's very profound in that methodology. We want to hear from him regarding that. So I'll just go right through your resume, dear brother. Brother Willie Muhammad is a New Orleans native. He is a graduate of Walter L. Cohen High School and Xavier University. He is taught in the New Orleans and Baton Rouge public schools systems. In 2003, he was approved by the Honorable Louis Farrakhan to serve as the student minister of Muhammad Mosque number 46 and his New Orleans as his New Orleans representative. Brother Muhammad has also worked as a mentor and an instructor for two groups of young Black males who worked to acquire their GED. Many of the young men were able to obtain their GED and move on to better lives. Brother Muhammad now works as a middle school history teacher in the New Orleans Parish School Board. Brother Muhammad has a history that shows his level of commitment to his community. 2014, Brother Muhammad was one of the organizers for the New Orleans Man Up March, where 800 plus Black men showed up to commemorate the historic Million Man March and to get involved in efforts to improve their community. 2009, he helped to establish the New Orleans chapter of the Peacekeepers, which is a diverse group of men who spend 1 hour every Saturday canvassing the violent neighborhoods in the city and squashing street beefs. This conflict resolution initiative has helped to literally save several lives and prevent many other senseless physical altercations from occurring. Several years ago, the group's efforts were honored by the New Orleans City Council. Brother Willie was recently selected by Data News Weekly, a Black-owned news publication in New Orleans, as one of its 2015 trailblazers. He was selected for his work in the city of New Orleans as the student minister of Muhammad Mosque number 47. As a result of his commitment and steadfastness, Brother Muhammad is often called upon to address various audiences at high schools, colleges, campuses, churches, mosques, correctional facilities, and other numerous community events. Brother Muhammad said that out of all of his accomplishments, his greatest are the making the decision to better his life by way of the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and being a committed husband and father to his family. And the great help to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and by extension, a help to those of us who are members, registered and unregistered of the Nation of Islam. And with no further ado, I want to bring to these screens and microphones our dear brother, once again, Student Minister Willie Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Walaikum salam, brother. All praise is due to Allah, man. And it is truly an honor to be here with our brother Chad Muhammad, and yourself, Brother James.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all, brother, for this quality program that you all continue to bring to those who are on social media who tune in. Thank you.
All praise is due to Allah, dear brother, and the gratitude and honor is ours, dear brother, because we are trying to serve as a platform to present those who are foremost in exemplifying the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And in my humble opinion, you number among that category, dear
all
brother.
Praise, striving to be, my brother. All praises to Allah.
Yes, sir. And I'm going to turn the mic over to my dear brother and co-host, Brother Chad Muhammad, for any words that he'd like, opening words he'd like to make or to address to you and to the listening and viewing audience. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Brother James. Once again, most definitely, it's an honor to have you, Brother Willie, and the work that you have been doing. I told Brother James specifically that the last show that you and I did, Brother Student Minister Dimitri, what Muhammad was on, was one of my favorite shows. Like, I thoroughly really enjoyed any discussion that's dealing with Master Farad Muhammad. You can count on being my top 10. You know, that's
sir.
Beautiful. Y'all did a tremendous job. The PowerPoint on point. I also would like to extend to you the greetings from all of the believers of Tampa Study Group, and also our student regional minister, Brother Patrick Muhammad.
Brother Patrick, definitely, man. Please return the greetings to everybody in the mighty 7 region, and to our brother Patrick for the work that he's doing as well, man, and to the believers in y'all cities.
Right.
Praise be to Allah. Inshallah, we'll do. I would like to start by asking, based on the complexities that affect as far as Black and brown communities, nationally and internationally, can you describe like factors that have prevented these communities to come to a consensus and move in a united and enduring manner?
As you asked that question, the words of our mother Tanetta Muhammad comes to mind when she pointed out the second question in the student enrollment. And it talks about, how it refers to the Caucasian as a skunk of the planet Earth. And she pointed out, when you look on the back of a skunk, it has the black is separated by the white, right? And when I think about those issues of preventing us from uniting and coming together, the Black and the brown, at the core root of it is white supremacy. Because you have some Black people who don't see our brown brothers and sisters as Black, and you have the brown brothers and sisters who don't see themselves as Black. And so we're divided by all of these different titles, right? So in our lessons, look at what the devil says. As the Most High Elijah Muhammad talks about the trick of the devil. Why does he call our people African? And the Most High Elijah Muhammad says that he wants us to think we are different.
That's right.
So if he wants us to think we are different, so here, if he has the ability to influence how we think, he has the ability to influence how we see, how we talk, whatever it is that we actually do. So that's at the root of it. And then you add on top of that we've been raised in a way where we just attack one another, right? We've been raised in a way where we don't know how to sit down as civilized people and discuss our differences before we get into a violence. So at the root of it is the mindset of Satan, because wherever you see division, wherever we see subtraction, you know, in mathematics, when you're adding something, you get a sum. But when you're subtracting something, you get a difference. So whenever we see a difference and whenever we see this division, that, as the scripture also shows, Satan is present.
Beautiful. Thank you, sir. Praise be to Allah.
Now, to our listening and viewing audience, we want to engage you and, of course, your questions so that our dear brother can address them. As you all know, this is a very timely and serious subject matter. And what it appears to be is, no matter how important and how emphasized unity among Black people, particularly young Black men, and I'll say women too, is trumpeted by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and others of any other Black organization, we yet are still plagued by this problem of self-destruction. We know that there is a methodology by which we can address this, curtail it, and ultimately eradicate it. And this is what we want to hear from our brother. Everything is mathematical, everything is scientific. And our brother has devised a methodology which he's very adept in teaching and sharing with us. And so, Brother Willie, I want to give you an opportunity, dear brother, to share with us methodological steps that can be taken, that which you shared with us when we attended your class, and the importance of it and the purpose of it.
You know, it's interesting, as you were talking, it brought to mind, you've seen the movie Karate Kid, right?
Yes, sir.
And Daniel's son, Mr. Miyagi, was such a masterful teacher. He was able to teach this young brother to be an expert martial artist, award-winning martial artist, tournament-winning martial artist, by a way that he didn't even realize, right?
That's
wax on, wax off, all of that type of stuff. And I use that example because I realized by all of the years of observing and studying the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the seeds for this conflict resolution were planted in my mind back then. Like, you think about it, when the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan attempted to do a mediation between 50 Cent and Ja Rule. When you think about how the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was called all of the rappers together, or they summoned him and he called them together at his home, and the minister was able to do several conflict mediations between various fractions, various artists, all in one setting. So the idea of how to do it, it's come from the teachers of the Most High Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, how we're taught in the nation that if you have an issue with a brother, you should bring that issue directly to that brother. And so what we have done is just took the example and put it in a form that we were able to bring to our community. We started here in the city of New Orleans as the New Orleans Peacekeepers. I want to give a shout out to our Captain Emeritus, brother, student Captain Dennis Muhammad, because with him, we started the Peacekeepers doing the 1 hour walks. And then 2 years later, it evolved into, let's do conflict mediation. And at the bare minimum of it, my brother, the bare minimum of it is getting our people to do what they're not doing, which is communicating. Like, when we see it in the news, when we see somebody has been murdered, it has gotten to that degree. But at the very root of a lot of these murders that we see is a miscommunication, misperception, and not knowing how to resolve conflict. And we are in a culture where we are taught that when you have a disagreement with somebody, people don't encourage you to sit down or go to them in a respectful manner. People say you got to take them out. You got to put him in his head. And here's an example. All of us have, I ain't gonna say all of us, but many of us have been guilty of this. I was. You know, we see the murders that we see taking place, and we hear people say, man, back in my days, people didn't get a gun. They fought with their hands. And people champion that. And I've championed that before. And we say, man, you should put the guns down and you should go fight it out. And people hold that up as that's a better alternative than the gun violence. But in truth, it's the seed that gave birth to the current gun violence. Come on, man. Because it adds to create a culture where people are going from not even most of the times, not even a real disagreement, a misunderstanding, to now we go into physical violence. So what we try to do, Brother James and Brother Chad, we see this initiative as if it's equivalent to a National Guard rescue person throwing a life preserver to somebody that's drowning. So do this, we're throwing the life preserver to our people and say, listen, we are putting our lives on the line to sit down with you and whoever you're having an issue with, so we can sit down and you all can begin to hear one another. Because 9 times out of 10, my brothers, when they hear one another and there's a third objective party that's able to articulate and clear some things up, they begin to realize, man, we about to kill each other over some BS.
Yes, sir.
Right. Beautiful. Thank you, sir. Praise be to Allah.
Praise be to Allah.
That's great. One of our dear brothers out of the 7th region, who also is a teacher in history, Student Minister Willie, he asked a question. He said, as a history teacher myself, I have found it quite effective that when we teach our Black and brown youth their common history, more of a sense of understanding and unity is established among them. Do you have any success stories in this area as a history teacher and student minister? Yeah,
definitely, man. Here in the city of New Orleans, unlike where you all are from in Florida, it wasn't until after Katrina that we began to start having a diverse population. This is pretty much a predominantly Black city, right? And so now you have some of our Latino brothers and sisters, but we don't have that contention here like in other cities. But we do have the contention between our own folks, right? So in 2 years ago, I was asked to step outside of the classroom and become a school dean, a disciplinary, a dean, right? And within a course of a year, I was able to, I presented it to the school principal. He allowed me to speak to the freshmen in our school. And our goal was to create a culture where we wanted the students to know, listen, before you go and want to go and fight somebody, come and reach out to me or one of the other staff so we can see what we can do. And slowly but surely, students started coming to me. Hey, Mr. Muhammad, such and such has told me something, or they said something on IG. I ain't scared of them. I'm ready to put them hands on them, but I want you all to help me out. And we will be able to bring them together, and it's the same stuff. He said, she say, I thought, somebody else said. And that's one of the beauties. So those are one of the things that we were able to do in the school. And it's the same thing that we do in the community. Yes, we go out, whoever contacts us first, we get all of the details, and then we let them know this is what we're going to try to do. We try to establish contact with the rival party, and the ultimate goal is to get them to come to the table, right? Yes. Sometimes they don't want to come to the table, but when they don't want to come to the table, we act as the middle person going back and forth negotiating the terms, right? And so when we get the opportunity, maybe after the next question, you can have the brother pull up some of those 3 slides, and I can go through those slides and show you all the data, because I'm big on being able to measure what we're doing, because that gives us an indicator of what we're doing right and what we need to work on and what is working.
Beautiful. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Well, certainly, brother, we want to see the slides.
Right.
There is an underlying question. Really, it's a universal question that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has put on our minds regarding the root. I mean, what inclines a brother, a black man, to think so little of his brother that it's so easy for him to destroy his brother and or his sister? The Holy Quran teaches us in its words, say, I seek refuge in Allah from the evil of the slinking devil, who whispers into the hearts of men from among the men and the jinn. Is there an underlying hidden cause that motivates our people in such way to be so self-destructive?
Definitely. I think, you know, I had the opportunity to be on a conservative radio host show, this white boy, right? And because I wrote an editorial that the local newspaper placed the editorial in the newspaper, and I was basically echoing the message of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that we must accept the responsibility to make our community safe. So when I had the opportunity to go on his show, as we were talking about the violence in the city, he said, well, Mr. Muhammad, what's at the root of it? What do you think is at the root of this violence in the black community? I said, that's easy, sir. It's from the self-hatred that we learned on the plantation. And he was like, oh, there you go. You want to blame the Caucasian. I said, well, no, I'm not trying to blame the Caucasian. I said, well, let me give you this example. I knew he was a Catholic from my research. I said, you believe in the concept of the original sin, which is talking about what Adam allegedly did 6,000 years ago. So he said, oh, yes, sir. He started running and explaining the belief. I said, so you believe that what a man allegedly did 6,000 years ago of eating a fruit from a tree has affected the world thousands of years later?
Come on, yes, sir.
He started, yes, and that's why Jesus has to return. I said, well, let me ask you this, sir. How can what a man allegedly did 6 or some thousand years ago affect the world today, but what our people went through a few centuries ago don't affect us today?
Come on, man.
And he cut the interview after that. But I go to look at the word kill. In the word kill, when you drop the K, you get the word ill.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So there's an illness that's causing us to kill each other. And the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in the powerful book, Message to the Black Man, he talked about how that illness is self-hatred, which has made us, which is a symptom of being a Negro. We've been made deaf, dumb, and blind, right?
That's
and
right.
So as brother with these, he's going to show the slides to show you, if you can go to that first slide where it talks about the history of what we're doing. And we'll go through that. But at the root of it, keep going. That's not it. Go to the other one. Go to the other one. Right there. So look, as of today, brothers and sisters, nationally, and let me tell you, Brother James and Brother Chad, we haven't, the real work with conflict resolution hasn't even begun yet. We're really just planting seeds. It's seeds right now. This is, and you, as we are honest, even as a nation, we haven't fully got behind this, even though the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has expressed his desire to want to see this happen. So as of right now, nationally, since 2015, we have 140 conflicts that have been resolved nationally, all in different areas. And they range from on this spectrum, as you see here, from low, guarded, elevated, high, and severe. Out of those 140, 128 of those, 91% of those have been on the level of guarded and above. The goal is to be proactive. The goal is to get involved in these conflicts before somebody gets shot down in the streets with an AK-47 or AR-15 or Magnum or Colt 45 or a street sweeper. We want to be proactive. The other thing is, we have been blessed to train 1,281 people since 2015. And when they go through these trainings, as Brother James talked about, they go through the basic principles of conflict resolution and understand the 10-10-15 conflict resolution procedures, the 10,000 feelings. And by Allah's grace, We've been able to travel to 26 cities thus far, teaching conflict resolution. So go back to the next slide. So with this, what you're looking at, this explains how the people that reach out to us to resolve the conflicts, how they are initiated. Less than 8% of the people call a phone, which we understand that, right? Because they don't know who's on the other end. Like who I'm calling to tell somebody that I want to shoot. This might be a police officer. Still put the telephone number out there because our goal is to make it where the same way people want to call 911, they'll be comfortable calling the hotline in their respective city. Nearly 23% of the conflicts we resolve, the mediators knew the conflicting parties and they intervened. Like we've had mediators who are on social media or they're in the neighborhood and they knew two people were beefing and they intervene and say, hey man, I heard you're beefing with so-and-so, let me help you. Then nearly 13% of the conflicts that were resolved were a result of the brothers and sisters out in the community and they walk up on some people that were about to have an issue. And they were able to resolve that. Brother David from San Diego, a part of his 10,000 Fearless contribution, he talks about crisis management. Like, what do you do when you walk up on somebody and there's a fight that's going on? Now, this is a very key statistic right here. Nearly 56% of the resolved conflicts, they came as a result of a mediator who was personally contacted. And what's so significant about this, to be successful with conflict resolution is based upon the relationships that we develop and establish in our city with the community. Because when they know us and trust us, then they will trust us to intervene in their affairs. Why do these rappers call Minister Farrakhan when they're having a conflict? They call him because they know he is a just peace broker. So what we do is we constantly reach out to organizations and community members, and we go into the community just to form a relationship. Hey, I'm Brother Willie. And when they see us enough, we start letting them know what we do. So when that conflict takes place, they may think, well, let me reach out to the brothers and see if they can help us. So you can go to this last slide. And when you shoot this next slide is going to show you the categories. So look, you see low in the green, that represents there's no threat of violence, is a simple misunderstanding. The guarded is there's a threat of violence, somewhat possible, but no physical violence has occurred. Basically, somebody has been threatened. The yellow is elevated. Threats have been made and the violence has only been in the form of a fight. The orange is threats have been made against someone's life. Violent acts such as fights, weapons have been drawn or brandished. Somebody has had a gun pulled on them. The red is talking about weapons have been brandished and used and lives have been lost or people have experienced serious injuries. So when you look at this pie chart, we've been collecting this data since 2015. When a city successfully resolves a conflict, we send them a link where they type in all of the details about what happened. Then we take that information, create a report, and we send it up to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So even though we're not hearing us talk about conflict resolution inside like we were doing 10-10-15, it's still on the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's minds, and he is watching and seeing the reports to see what is happening. So when you look at this, you see blue is our largest percentage. And that's because we are striving to be proactive. We want to get there, as I said, before somebody has lost their life. Now, if somebody has lost their life, we still get involved. But the goal is to get there, because the honest truth, brothers, most of our people don't have that level of forgiveness yet when they see somebody who they love on the ground dying and somebody talking about squashing something. That takes, God has to move on their heart to do that. But nonetheless, we still try to work. And it's the very basic principle, brothers, is getting the two sides to hear the other person's grievance, because you'll find out it's a misunderstanding.
Wow. Thank you, brother. And that leads me to a question I was about to ask. Like, what mechanisms, conflict techniques, do you feel are most effective to sustain a stable and secure environment within our community?
The most effective is what the Muslim Elijah Muhammad has on the back of our final call newspaper when he calls for complete separation. Because we can't be healed in the same environment that has caused the sickness. Right?
Right.
So we know that that's the long game plan. But right now, the thing is to get them to at least talk about what their issues are. Most people are not talking. And you all are familiar with Dianetics and Church of Scientology, and they have a course titled Conflict Resolution, right?
Yes,
and they say that oftentimes wherever you find a conflict, there's a third party, an unseen third party. And oftentimes that unseen third party is either the mindset of Satan, or the unseen third party is some friend or neighborhood friend or brother or relative that has been pushing up the mess. That's been bringing one saying, hey, you heard what he said this about you, or hey, she said this about you, and then they fall back. So that's why it's so important to talk. Oftentimes they're not talking. And if they are talking, they're talking at one another very disrespectfully, but it's not, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, taking a moment to walk in another person's moccasins to see how they have been affected.
Praise be to Allah.
All praise is due to Allah. Now, this is key, dear brother. In your response, Brother Minister, you mentioned how, and I think the implication is there needs to be trust. How do you, and when our young people, and I'm telling you, they don't trust anybody except maybe themselves, and even that limited. How do we establish trust? And how did we, more importantly, how did we lose that trust?
Well, the thing that we strive to do is we try to find somebody who we know that they do trust, right?
Yes, sir.
And if we can find somebody who we know that they do trust, if it may be their mother, it may be their brother, it might be an OG in the neighborhood, and we try to use the trust or the capital that this person has with this young person to get them to at least hear us out. And that's one of the things that we actually try to do. But our community, remember, as the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan pointed out during the historic Million Man March, using the letter, the Willie Lynch letter, how I talked about how we will be taught to trust others more than we trust ourselves. But one of the ways, this is why our outreach as members of the Nation of Islam is so important. Us going out there and doing good deeds. Remember the minister talked about acts of kindness.
Yes,
if
sir.
we're in the community helping the grandmother whose grandson was murdered, helping the children, doing some after school programming, feeding the homeless, giving out coats during the winter, or giving them food, or whatever it is that we can do in that particular area, we begin to start building trust, right? By just doing acts of kindness. So then, because they know, I can trust Brother James, I can trust Brother Chad. So when Brother Chad says, hey man, if you're in a conflict, here's a number, give me a call. This is my personal number. Give me a call. Let me see if I can help you. And that's one of the ways, by doing good things. I think in regards to that level of trust now, in regards to young people, you know, the culture, like this culture of violence is being rewarded. If you listen to the music that they listen to, it's all about killing.
Right.
And it's about killing and destructive behavior that is being rewarded by this enemy with $1 million contracts.
Wow.
Go ahead, Brother Minister. Yes, sir.
So everything that they believe is successful, like for you and I, the norm, what's normal to us is abnormal to them. What's abnormal to us is normal to them. So when they hear us talking about, look, man, you don't need to be shooting anybody because they live in a different neighborhood, in their mind, they're like, man, that's my op.
That's
well, you don't know who your opposition is, because the enemy has given you a view of your brother that you don't even realize. Like many of our people, them young brothers don't even realize that they are being used as tools against in their own destructive behavior. They don't even realize it.
Right. That's right. Absolutely, brother. Praise
so that's an interesting principle of the hidden third party, dear brother.
Yeah.
And as I reflect on that, as I reflect on what you shared, it makes me to know, or makes me to realize, that in every conflict that I have been engaged in, I'm saying personally, there has always been
third party,
a third party, you know?
Sure, indeed.
And of course, well, go ahead, dear brother. It just makes me reflect. It's a fact.
And it's the culture in which we're in. You know, most of these young brothers and people in our community, they're being raised in war zones, brother.
Right.
And many of them, I was watching a show on YouTube, and this brother was talking about how he saw so many people murdered that he now has to smoke weed to keep his nerves calm. So many of them are walking around with, they can be diagnosed with post-traumatic stress syndrome, and they don't even realize it. And it's so bad that they hear people dying so often, it conditions them to say that if they have a simple disagreement, they feel like, I gotta kill him because these dudes not fighting out here, they shooting.
That's right.
And what we have found is, we would talk to parties, especially as teenagers, where both of them wanted to resolve the conflict, but they was like, the other person not gonna want to do it. And there's nobody to come between them and talk to them, right? So like with those brothers in the streets, those conflicts in the streets, we have to get some people who are in their environment who they respect. Because they may see us come through there, and they're like, man, who are these dudes? These dudes got suits on. How we know they're not the people? But that's why we have to have, and look at the lessons. It says friendships and what?
All walks of life.
And let me tell you how that helped us one time. Going back to what Brother James said about trust. A brother was caught on videotape getting assaulted on the local news, and they put it all over the news. And I said, man, this brother's going to retaliate. So we was trying to reach him, and we couldn't reach him. But I saw that he had similar social media friends with people who I knew, right? It's like on social media, I befriend people on social media whose lifestyles may not be like ours.
Right.
Because you never know who they know. Friendship in all walks of life. Right. And so I reached out to a brother who was in this environment, and because of the respect that they have for him, this brother was willing to talk to me. So that's why we got to build friendships.
That's true, brother.
Absolutely.
That's true. Beautiful. Thank you, Brother Willie. When it comes to, I want to, if you don't mind, just to talk about the Black woman and our women in particular, you know, understanding that no nation can rise no higher than its woman.
That's right.
All right. Coupled with the historic intersectional oppressions and stresses Black women face related to race, gender, education, class, employment, etc. What approach would you recommend to reduce these stresses, and how would you implement such an approach?
Man, I will have to go from the scripture to give you this example. A lot of times these women are under these stresses because oftentimes our sisters, these women are raising the families by themselves. It's no coincidence in the book of Malachi that when God says, behold, in this great and dreadful day, I will send you the prophet Elijah. Look at what it says Elijah would do. It says that Elijah would turn the hearts of the fathers back to the children and the heart of the children back to the fathers. Wait a minute. Why is Elijah dealing with the relationship between fathers and children? Where's the woman?
Come on.
Because Elijah was sent to a group of people where the man was absent. So that is why in the Bible, there are 42 cases of women who are widows. And most of those women are raising sons by themselves.
Go ahead, brother.
So one of the ways we can alleviate the pressure that women have to deal with is keeping the family unit in tight. Right? That's the start. But also, we have to begin to start teaching men how to be there, not only physically, but also be there emotionally present.
Yes, sir.
Right. Beautiful, beautiful. Yes.
So remember, Satan's, and I'm going to show you a powerful example.
Yes, sir.
Satan's first attack was on the family. Satan's first attack was on the union between man and woman in their relationship and obedience to God.
Yes, yes, yes.
He was a third party that was able to cause a beef between God, Adam, and Eve. You get the opportunity, and I'll send this to you. There were some elephants in Africa. It's called the rogue elephant study. You might be familiar with this. These Europeans were coming from Europe, either themselves on a hunting trip or they were paying young brothers to kill these African elephants and cut off their tusk. The elephant's family structure, according to zoologists, are more like structured like a human family. You have mother, father, aunt, uncle, auntie, nieces, nephews, that, right?
Yes, sir.
What they noticed was when they were killing the male elephants specifically, because they tend to have the larger tusk, man, they started noticing that the young male elephants started engaging in violent behavior. They were stampeding villages. When white people were coming on to these safaris, they were attacking the cars. Man, these young male elephants were raping rhinos.
Look at that.
So they couldn't understand what's happening with these male elephants. You know what they connected it to? The disruption of the family.
Look at that.
And guess how they fixed it? They took the young male elephants and they put them on a reservation with other older male elephants. And guess what took place once that happened? The behavior stopped. So I can, from my personal example, my father left our family when I was at the age of 13. I was watching a show by Ayanna Van Zant last night, and she made a very good point, which we've heard the minister said that when the father is absent, young men need guidance from other strong men to guide them. When my father left, someone came up to me and said, "You have to be the man of the family." I began to start looking in the streets and following people who gave me an incorrect understanding of manhood. And I saw my mother stress trying to raise 3 sons on her own. So to bring that back to what you said, that's one of the ways. So what should the sisters do in the meantime? Because the man is not there. The numbers are starting to increase. This is why it is important for us to introduce our sisters outside of the community to the stuff that the MGT are getting, where the Most High Elijah Muhammad told Mother Tanetta, when she said, "What am I going to do when you leave?" He said, "What? Make Allah sufficient."
Come on. That's right.
What did Hagar, when she was running in the wilderness back and forth looking for help, the help that she needed was right under her feet. So in the meantime, while we're trying to improve men, we have to let them know, make Allah sufficient.
Yes, sir.
What I and thank you for that, dear brother. Brother Minister, what I'd like to ask you is, how do we make God real?
Good question.
To particularly to our young brothers and sisters. And most of them don't want to hear anything about any religion.
And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that Allah's hand is in that.
Go ahead.
Because what they are really responding to is this teaching of a mystery God.
That's right.
So one of the ways that we can make God real is by not falling into this mystery God teaching. We have to help them to understand that yes, there is a God, but in the end, you still got to do the work.
Wow.
Do you know? I'm gonna give you two examples. One from the scripture. I think it's in Exodus chapter 14. The children of Israel were panicking because they saw Pharaoh coming after them. So they went to Moses. They like, Moses, call on God. Tell God do something. And Moses really didn't want to go and bother God. But they got on Moses' nerves so bad, he went to God and said, God, Pharaoh is coming. They're going to kill us. And if you read it, God asked Moses, he told Moses, why are you calling on me?
Come on, brother.
Now imagine that.
Wow.
You were taught to call on God, and here you in a moment of great despair, and God said, why are you calling on me?
Right.
You ever ask yourself, how come in the book of Exodus, while Pharaoh was pursuing God's people, it says God was in a cloud by day, in a pillar of fire by night, which we know is the mother plane.
Yes, sir.
If God saw his people being threatened by his enemy, why didn't God drop a missile?
That's right. Come on.
Why didn't he drop a bomb?
Uh-oh.
Maybe God didn't drop a bomb because he was trying to let them know that, yeah, it looks bad. Yeah, it looks like Pharaoh is going to defeat you. But guess what? In you is the ability to overcome Pharaoh, and you don't need me directly like that because I've already placed myself in you.
Beloved. Teach me.
And you saw that problem because they created, a lot of times when we talk about sin, we point out fornication, we point out adultery, we point out lying. But I believe there's a greater sin that we overlook.
Come on, brother.
And that greater sin that we overlook is the disbelief in the God force inside of us.
Yes. Come on, brother Willie.
Make that plain.
That greater sin is believing in a mystery God when Allah has already told you we have searched for the Son of Man has searched for trillions of years and come to the conclusion there is no mystery God.
That's right.
Yes.
So God had got them to the promised land that they prayed for, right?
Right.
And God has sent, look, if you look at it, God didn't even go to, he told them to go send 2 of their people to go find the land. When they came back, they said, God, we found the land. It's everything you said it is.
That's right, brother.
But God, they got giants over there. Won't you go kill them?
Right.
And God got so upset that he said, Moses, everybody who think like that, let them die in the wilderness.
That's right.
They didn't believe in themselves. So what we have to begin to start doing, Brother James, is first, we got to teach God to them in a real way and let them understand that, listen, man, you are some of the God where you read about in the scripture, that ain't talking about somebody outside of yourself. That's talking about you.
That's right.
See, I tell people this is this iPhone. This thing, brothers and sisters, I'm going to show you something. If you can see all of the apps on this thing, right? You got apps where you don't have to go to the bank.
That's right.
You got apps that can, your blood pressure.
Right.
You got apps where it's just, you can have a teleconference with a doctor. This phone is very powerful. But guess what? With all the apps that it has, it doesn't have an app that recharges the battery. We have to plug this into an external source.
Come on, brother.
So we got to let people know the following is this, that we are like this iPhone. We got a whole bunch of power, but we only can use it if we stay charged to the God that's outside of us.
That's right.
I'll close with this. Now, I'm taking so long.
You're
That's
beautiful.
all right. Teach, beloved.
There was a story. This man was a farmer. So he had gathered all of his crops. He was on his way to the market, but that week it had rained, so the ground was still soggy. On the way to the market to sell his goods, his wagon got stuck in the mud. He was like, oh man, if I don't get to the market, I'm not going to be able to sell my goods. He started thinking about all of the stuff that could go wrong, but he never got up off of that wagon. All he did was just thought about what could go wrong.
Teach, beloved.
So then he said, let me pray to God. And he prayed to God and prayed to God and prayed to God. No answer. Prayed to God, prayed to God, prayed to God. No answer. Then he prayed to God so much more that God came down himself. And God told him, get your behind off of that wagon.
Right.
Put your shoulder to the back of the wagon and push it and tell these mules to move. When he got down and he did that, the first time the wagon came out of the mud. And he was so happy and thanking God, and God looked at him and said, let me tell you something. Don't you ever pray to me again if you have not taken a step to solve your problem yourself first. What does Allah say in the Quran? That he does not solve a people's problem until they first what? Solve their own.
That's right.
The problem, and that's one of the benefits of the teachers of the Most High Elijah Muhammad. We really understood what is meant when we say we are gods. That means that we have the force and the power to change our condition. And I know we do. You know why? Because it's that same force and power that has caused our condition.
Wow. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that's one of the things that we have to see. Man, I felt like that was a long response.
Wow, that was beautiful.
That's all right there, brother. This is what we're trying to evoke out of you.
Yes,
beautiful. The teachings of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Dear brother, there is a dilemma that we face in all of this effort.
Yes, sir.
And it's tied to economics. You know, our young people are force-fed these commercials regarding the finer things in life, the Lexuses, the Cadillacs, the other wonderful, luxurious material things.
Yes.
Yet, the enemy does not provide an economic avenue by which and through which they can achieve these things. Now, our young people know that they cannot acquire these things, which they have been given a serious appetite for, through legal means, at least the means that are open to them by the enemy. How do you deal with that, brother minister? How do you convince a brother and or sister that's out there clocking cash or paper, as they say?
That's right. Skrilla.
How can you, and then more often than not, they've dropped out of school. They don't even have a high school diploma. As an educator, I'm sure you've been confronted with this kind of dilemma. How do we convince them?
It's
Go
real,
ahead,
and it's like,
yes, sir.
It's real. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said this: we have to come up. Their hustle is not what's wrong; is what they're hustling, which is wrong.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, make it plain.
They try to come up with products that they will be able to sell in spite of, in absence of the dope, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things where the minister said we got to introduce them. So when you look at in regards to, as the minister pointed out with the white mafia here, they started off illegal and they begin to start using the illegal money to begin to start trying to get to legalized businesses, right?
Right.
So for those brothers who are out there in the community, we have to befriend them and begin to start connecting them with business people who can show them how to turn that dollar to do something right.
Right.
And when they turn that dollar to do something right, oftentimes they're going to bring up their inner circle. If it's flipping houses, right? So we have to find ways. Like, for example, when there was a young brother when I was working in his GED program, he was hustling. He told me like he spent like $2,500 a month just on weed.
Wow.
And I said, damn, man, you spending that much on just marijuana? He said, yeah. And what we did was, there was a brother in our mosque, deals with real estate, but he was also investing in gold coins. I where they had a meeting where the brother was able to talk to him about gold coins. So for those brothers and sisters who are out there hustling, we got to begin to introduce them to ways to show them that they can make they can make money, how they can use the money that they have to do something positive. A lot of times they don't know. A lot of times when they get the money, all they thinking about is tennis shoes, jewelry, because they're trying to put that on to fulfill a hole, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna tell you, man, some of the most brightest brothers that I've ever met who have a business mind have been brothers who were former dope dealers.
That's true.
So that's one of the ways. And then we have to let them know there's nothing wrong with wanting those nice things, because look what Master Farah Muhammad came. He said, what? Money, good homes, luxury.
Right. Yes, sir.
Right? Well, we have to show them how to get it, because the enemy is going to keep doing his thing. And then the other thing is we need to know how to get it so we can show them, look at what I have, and this is how I got it.
That's right. That's right.
So we have to begin to start doing those things. We have to begin to start purchasing property, or whatever it may be. Sometimes it may be, hey, let me show you how to get your license, where you can go to an auction, and instead of going blow that $2,500 on some marijuana, you can go buy a car for $2,500, and you can come back and sell it for $8 grand.
Jeez.
We have to show them different ways, right?
That's right.
Now, some of them, brother James, some of them like that lifestyle, and they'll be like, look, man, I ain't trying to hear that. This is what I want.
Go ahead, yes, sir.
You just got to let them know this is what the consequences is, and then their blood is off of our hands.
That's right.
Absolutely, that's true.
And I'm going to close on this point. And I think sometimes, brothers, we have done ourselves a disservice where we try to put all of the responsibility of saving our people on us, and they don't have to do anything.
Go ahead, brother.
Sometimes sometimes we can make salvation into the new welfare plan. Where we give, you got to do everything. We're going to do everything for you, and you don't have to do anything.
Wow.
When that's contrary to the Bible and the Quran.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You see, when Jesus was helping people, they had to do something.
That's right.
When Jesus healed the man's hand who was weathered, what did he tell him? Stick out your hand.
That's right.
When he found a man that was laying by the pool for 38 years, he said, pick up your mat and what? Walk.
Walk. That's right.
So we have to understand to our people that you got to do something.
True indeed, brother.
You got to do something.
Yeah.
And I'll back up in closing with our brothers and sisters. We have to show them and introduce them to people who've been able to do what they have accomplished with the right means.
That's
Absolutely.
right.
Beautiful.
That's right.
Student Minister Willie, you're dead on it, brother. I mean, you most definitely given us a lot of jewels that we can use. And, it gave to mind when you was talking about being out and about. The FOI is hitting the streets real hard now.
Come on, brother.
This pandemic, out there with the Final Call newspaper, the greatest newspaper that everyone should have a copy.
That's right, brother.
Coming up with news that we can use.
That's right.
Going out. There it goes.
Yes, sir.
And dear brother, as we're going out, we're going into the different neighborhoods. And we don't go into the more of the Hasidity area. We go into the roughest and the toughest of neighborhood. And a lot of those same people that you're talking about, our brothers and sisters, they're located in that neighborhood. What advice would you give as far as helping to establish beachheads in some of those neighborhoods that are more have that kind of core brotherhood and sisterhood that's more of the, that got the hustle mentality that's in the wrong way, those that like to tote guns and whatnot, those that where a lot of the conflict that we're talking about is established in those neighborhoods. What advice would you give us as the brothers move out in those type of community and trying to establish and set up beachheads there?
I would think, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, sometimes we miss the strategy that he's giving us.
Go ahead, brother.
Remember with the Aretha Franklin and Nipsey Hussle editions? Remember he put down the command, he said, don't ask anybody for money, give it to them.
Go ahead.
Now, I'm not saying go through the neighborhood and give out final calls, but this is the thing. Sometimes we got to come in with more than just a final call.
Right.
Sometimes we should come in where a service that we can give to them.
That's right.
Say, for example, how many of us have lawyers in our mosque or our study group?
Come on.
What if one day we went through the neighborhood and said, listen, on next Saturday, this brother on this flyer, Brother Chad Muhammad, he's an attorney. He's going to set up right over there at a table, and he's going to be giving out free legal advice.
Wow. Wow. Yes, sir.
If you got a case, you want to expunge your record, you need to see him. We see now we're providing a service.
Come on,
go ahead,
brother. Whatever we got sisters like our brother Desmond, I saw him on it. He's a nurse.
That's right.
Whatever we got brothers and sisters who are nurses in the medical field. We come back the next Sunday. We come back the next week. Listen, you enjoyed the attorney? Yeah, man, he really helped me out. Good. In 2 weeks, we're going to bring our brothers and sisters on this flyer. They're in the medical field. Right over there, they're going to set up. They're going to be giving blood pressure, free blood pressure tests. They're going to be giving information about health where you can just go to them. Now we're providing a service.
That's right.
You can come back and say, hey, brother, listen, I notice every time I come through here, man, you got the flyest whip.
Come on.
I see, I can tell you got money. But what you doing with that money?
Go ahead, brother.
Let me show you this. Next week, we got our brother Michael Shabazz.
Yes, realtor of the gods. Come on.
We're going to bring him in, and he's going to show you how to purchase a home that you can flip. We get mad at these white folks coming through here buying up our property, and we think that we can just tell them no gentrification. Them people got
that's right. Make that plain, brother Willie.
Yes,
Make that plain, beloved.
You said how much money you got stored up, brother? Man, I got about 50 grand. What is it doing?
Right.
Let's see if we can take that 50 grand and find a way where you can buy this property.
Yes, sir.
Because most of those brothers that are out there hustling like that, they don't want to keep doing that, but they don't know another way out.
Another way. That's right.
So if we came in and begin to start providing service,
right.
What happens, I think, sometimes, in my opinion, we begin to limit our service just based upon the paper.
Teach, beloved.
We have begun to, and some people may not like this, we have narrowed down being a soldier just to what your activity is with the Final Call newspaper.
Come on, brother.
So you mean to tell me a brother Michael go set up in one of these housing developments and begin to start teaching a class to dope dealers about how to acquire real estate? He ain't soldiering?
Teach, beloved.
We got to come from out of this box.
Right.
That's right.
Because we have placed ourselves inside the box. And when we do this, if there's a brother who can say, man, look, brother James Muhammad came in, man, he helped me get my first house.
Come on, look at that.
If this is the brother that got weight in the community, when we need something, somebody get killed, brother James, hey, what's happening, brother Ralph? Man, somebody got killed in that neighbor. I need to know what's going on. But we've already endeared him to us. We got to begin to start thinking.
Come on, beautiful.
We got to begin to start now. Now it's time to start applying what we were doing, right? When you look at the Holy Quran, the Mecca surahs and the Medina surahs, the Mecca surah was all about them establishing the religion. The Medina surahs are all about them building the kingdom of Islam.
Right.
Beautiful.
Right.
Beautiful.
So think about this. You go to the neighborhoods, you can tell the person that's in power, you can tell the person that everybody respects, that when he tell everybody, yo, man, put the weed down, the brother's coming through. That's the person we need to befriend.
That's right.
Yes.
So when you walk through that, we sometimes you just be coming there to shake hands and, hey, man, tell me about yourself. What you like?
Come on.
I like this. I like that. I like doing this. So now when we know that what he likes, we can begin to start feeding that to them. But when we solve their problems, we're going to naturally endear them to us. But we have to begin to start using the resources that we have in our nation.
That's beautiful.
It don't always come from behind a rostrum.
Come on, brother. Teach, man.
It don't always come from. So if there's a brother that can teach them how to do real estate, if there's a brother that can teach them how to buy cars or whatever. One time what we did was a brother, he's an electrician. We raised some money and he was teaching an 8-week electrician course.
Go ahead, bro.
That will prepare them to take the electrician tests. And they will get their basic certification. So if we change their lives, then they naturally going to feel like I owe these brothers.
Absolutely.
I apologize for going.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh no, dear brother.
I got some
See,
good.
this is the kind of response that we are trying to evoke out of you. We know it's in you.
Praise be to
and we want our people to hear it.
Yeah.
The bottom line is, in all of our efforts to resolve conflicts among us, we have to give those who are in the conflict an alternative to what they are engaged in. And the alternative, as you said, Brother Willie, the word has to be made flesh. We can't talk about the righteousness of keeping within the law, not slinging or not hustling, but don't show them on the other end an alternative that will afford them the ability to get that which they are hustling out there to get.
And
that's bottom line. Go ahead, brother.
It's equivalent to this. We talk about the clean glass, the dirty glass.
That's right.
If somebody only have a dirty glass of water, we're saying don't drink out of that dirty glass, and they're like, well, damn, bro, what else I'm gonna drink out of?
That's right. That's right.
All we have to tell them is, man, you gonna love this clean glass of water I'm gonna bring. Oh, they can, okay, where is it?
That's right.
I ain't got it yet. Man, you gonna, after a while, they're gonna be like, man, I hear what you're saying, but I gotta drink out of this dirty glass.
Right. That's right.
Sometimes brothers like we get so caught up in trying to, like, we get so caught up in their condition, the moral aspect of it, not realizing it's a process.
Teach, beloved.
So the real cold-hearted fact is, man, like, if you ain't got nothing to help that man provide away from his family, he gonna keep selling drugs. Because he got to provide for his family. Because most of them are, when you hear most of them brothers talk about what made you start selling weed and coke, man, my mama was struggling.
That's right.
So we gotta find ways to introduce them to a different hustle.
That's right. That's right.
Beautiful. Allahu Akbar, brother.
Allah. Brother Chad, you were about to say something there, brother.
Yes. The subject matter is just so beautiful, brother. Most definitely want to thank you. We have one of our dear brothers that's from our city, Dr. Lawrence.
All right, I got to talk to him.
All right, yeah, beautiful, beautiful brother. He posed a question I would like to ask you. He said, what is the difference between conflict management, conflict resolution, and conflict transformation? And what is most applicable? What is the most applicable given the condition of the U.S. Black and brown communities, and why? So
he asked it in addition to what is the difference between conflict management,
conflict resolutions, and conflict transformation, and what is the most applicable given the condition of U.S. Black and brown communities, and why?
He has a PhD. It sounds like some stuff he's been reading, but I would imagine with conflict resolution, from my experience, that's when you resolve the conflict. That's conflict management is that you're managing it.
Right.
You're managing it not for the purpose of just managing it, but it's managing it on the way to transforming it to conflict resolution. Yeah. Because that's the ultimate goal, right?
Right.
Ultimate goal is to resolve it. That's the ultimate goal. And he said, and what's the best one as it relates to?
Yeah, what's the most applicable given the condition of U.S. Black and brown communities, and why?
From my personal experience, the most applicable will be whatever addresses whatever that need is at that time.
Go ahead,
sometimes they're not ready to resolve it, but we can manage it. You know what I'm saying? Whatever is needed at that time, that's the most applicable, right? But also Brother James, what we begin to start realizing, man, when you get into this conflict resolution,
come on, brother,
it's not just conflict in the streets.
Teach, man.
Man, we didn't have to resolve conflict between business people. We didn't have to resolve conflict between community activists. And what it made me realize is that we have to do a better job of teaching people how to resolve conflict. And we should begin to start. We got to start somewhere. If it's going into schools, teaching children how to resolve from kindergarten, teaching parents, stop telling your children if somebody do you something, just the first response is to bust them in the head.
Come on.
Because now that stuff is coming back biting us. So we got to create a culture of conflict resolution where this is the norm. These are the steps. First we try this, first we try that, first we try this, first we try that. Now, if you tried all those other things like this, evidently this person is made a decision to want to be your enemy.
Yes, sir.
And let me say with this conflict resolution, man, as I said, this thing is in the baby stage.
Yeah.
So that's why I want to talk to Brother Lawrence. I want to talk to other people to see how we can put this thing together to begin to create a culture of conflict resolution where this is the norm.
Yes.
Absolutely, brother.
You know?
Yes, sir.
Beautiful, beautiful. I most definitely, I know he's tuning in right now.
Definitely.
And beautiful brother is helpful most definitely in this city.
Sir.
So we'll make sure, inshallah, we can make that happen because he's a worker and he's willing to work.
He gave me his number. I got to call him.
Oh, praise
great
to Allah.
to Allah.
Beautiful.
And that leads me, brother, to the question, when are your seminars taking place? I know you have a Zoom program or broadcast every week. I'm sure you're dealing with this subject and others.
Mm-hmm.
When are you going to, well, obviously we're in the COVID environment now and we can't travel or do not travel as much as we could in the past. But how do we get that information from you? The same instruction that you had given us previously.
That's because people have been asking, Brother James, and I've been trying to figure out how do we do it in this COVID. So I spoke to our brother from Austin, and you all should have him on because he has some very good success, some powerful success stories dealing with conflict resolution. Our brother Robert from Austin, Texas, mile 64.
Yes.
And inshallah, on January the 9th, we're going to hold the first virtual conflict resolution training. And the goal of it is to teach the basic principles. The biggest thing that I would say, Brother James, that we can't do, we can't fall into paralysis by analysis.
Yes, sir.
Brother, you know how we started doing conflict resolution? I got off an interview, a brother in the mosque called and said, man, what do you think about, he saw something on television. He said, what do you think about us starting a hotline where people can call if they got beefs? I said, man, that's a good idea. Let's have a meeting to see what we need to do.
Beautiful.
What we need a telephone number. We needed somebody to man that number. We needed a group of people who will be willing to do the conflict, and we need to promote it. And once we got those 4 things, we went out there and we've been learning this thing as we grow.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't get into, because you get people, sometimes they will hide behind their fear. All this analyst is really a cover for their fear.
Go ahead, Brendan.
And nothing gets done. Like we want to, everything got to be perfect. No, I'm telling you, the basics of this procedure, brother, the very basis is talk to the one person who was in the conflict, talk to the other, get all of the information, ask them to come sit down at a table in a secure way. Now there are different little techniques that you can use that we can do. And the other thing is when you are there, it's really just listen. Really just listen. And if we listen, we will hear this is what the problem is. And I'm quite sure our brother Lawrence, he has techniques that we can use, all of that stuff. But the number one thing is to get it going.
Yes, sir.
We don't need to wait. Like people are dying. And if we save one person, we save one person.
Go ahead, Brother Willie.
Like, for example, in the city of New Orleans, maybe last year, there was 150 some murders, right? Some of these murders are about stuff that is retaliation. And some of the beefs are at stage 4 cancer. It just got to play itself out. I'm just being honest.
Right. Yes, sir.
We still try to get involved. But what if we were able to get those 25 murders, if we was able to get in contact with them, these people who had these 25 murders that was over a parking spot, over a beer, over their team lost a football game over just a heated argument. If we were able to get that, we'd have reduced the murder in our city by 25.
That's right.
Some people say, well, that's not the gangbangers y'all dealing with. But to a mother whose son we just saved from losing his life over a fight, that means
that's right. That's right. Wonderful, dear brother.
All praise.
Wonderful.
Very good questions, brothers.
And I'm going to be on deck, inshallah, God willing.
Yes.
When that Zoom broadcast occurs. We really appreciate, brother, Student Minister Willie, this kind of information.
Yes.
I realize it is all coming from the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as they are expressed by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And we, in our effort, want to make it so plain that someone who may not necessarily want to be in the Nation of Islam, per se, but listens to what you're saying and realizing the conditions that prevail in their own neighborhood, perhaps in their own home. We want them to be able to implement your instruction, your guidance in this conflict resolution.
Man, we have brothers in our nation that still have connections to people who are in gangs, right?
Yes, sir.
So let's say you got Bloods and the Crips. Let's say the Bloods and the Crips like, look, man, I ain't trying to squash no beef with the Bloods. Okay, brother, I understand that. I don't agree with it. But what about the internal conflict amongst the Crips in your own set?
Teach, man.
Can you not use conflict resolution within your set? Okay, we'll do that, but it's a start.
That's right.
You got to think outside the box, man.
That's right. That's right.
And speaking of
that, I remember. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
All I was going to say was the language that you're using from the questions that are being posed. It brings me back to the class because you said gave those same responses and that same instruction in the class, and it works.
Yes, it
works.
Try to keep it simple.
Go right ahead, brother Chad. Go ahead.
Go ahead, brother Chad.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. Student Minister Willie, a lot of times with the youth nowadays, they have more confident in a weapon, and they feel, of course, just how we talked about from the lyrics of hip hop songs, from what they see on the videos or what people talk about. And it's easy for them to take lives, and they would do it, of course, not knowing the value of life. And, just for different things that can be as simple as how you say a parking spot, a territory, the wrong colors, a different gang, different neighborhoods and whatnot. And these are some of the questions that we hear out there today, like the confidence that they have, like feeling like, well, I got to protect myself. And we have a right to bear arms, that we should pick up. We should pick up guns and whatnot. So
come on, brother.
Everybody is talking nowadays, and they feel like this is the best protection that they can have. Especially those that not more on a spiritual level are going to see the reality of God and see He has the God being a protector. What advice could we give our young brothers out there that feel like these carnal weapons are the protection that's so needed in this day and time?
I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. Based upon their reality and their experiences, from their view, it is the best thing. From their view.
Right.
Yes.
Think about America. All these other countries are adamant about not getting rid of their nuclear weapon stockpiles.
Right.
Because they know that's the only thing that keeps America at bay, right?
That's right.
So for them young brothers, it's hard for them to say, I'm gonna put these guns down when they know they just had a friend that just got shot.
Right.
They know that ops is right around the corner, right?
Right.
So what we have to begin to start doing is work this thing in a variety of ways. Work on their mind. Hopefully you can get them to come to Islam, because we can tell them we've been living our lives without having any guns.
That's right.
And then we have to begin to start speaking to and addressing the need that the gun is satisfying.
Right.
I don't know if you ever held a gun when you were a teenage boy, how it makes you feel.
Right.
Yes, sir, brother.
You're
right.
Like, man.
Right.
You're absolutely
you feel
right.
like you're a man now.
Vince, that's right. Yes.
So what that shows is we have an improper view of what makes a man. Like one of the rappers said that just because you have a gun, it don't make they think that makes them a man. So we gotta constantly keep going at their mind. Now, in the Most High Elijah Muhammad, I'll use this analogy out of the How to Eat to Live. He was talking about the stomach, but he said if you take a stone and you put it under a faucet of water and you let it drop, right?
Yes, sir.
Eventually, that drop of water would burrow a hole through that stone.
That's right.
And we got to be consistent. And sometimes, like we gotta acknowledge their reality. Because James, you asked a question about how to get them with God. Sometimes they look at us as silly when we talking about. We know that we telling them, hey man, I know they killing each people back here. We got to stop the killing. We got to stop the killing. We acknowledge that they're living in a war zone, and then we come and tell them, hey man, you shouldn't be carrying no gun.
Go ahead, brother.
I'm not saying that we tell them carry a gun, but acknowledge their reality.
Yes,
that's right. That's right.
You know how crazy you would look if somebody, we standing before an elephant, and I'm saying, man, look at this elephant. You talking about there's no elephant. You'd be like, man, it's tripping. So start off by acknowledging, listen, brother, I know you feel because of this environment that you got to carry a pistol.
Yes,
it's not my way, but I know it's your reality. Let me introduce you to some stuff that can help you begin to change this. Or even put a question on their mind, what could we possibly do to create an environment where you don't need to do that? See, one time we went and spoke to some young brothers that were in prison. They were charged as adults. And they was like, man, Brother Muhammad, I hear what you're saying. They was like, man, beef don't die. In their mindset, if they never saw anybody that they can touch, feel, or hear squash a beef, in their mind, it's real to them that beef doesn't die. This is one of the reasons why on social media, me personally, when rappers who were beefing squash their beef, I screenshot and share that image.
Right.
We got to begin to start showing them that, yo, people do it. We got to begin to start sometimes when we go in the neighborhood. There's a brother in our city, Brother Kelvin. Listen, we was in the middle of a mediation, and we asked these three brothers, okay, man, we've been here. Are y'all ready to end the beef? This one brother was like, yeah, I'm ready to end it. The other brother was like, yeah, I'm ready to end it. And this third brother was like, I don't know. Brother Kelvin told him a personal story. Well, Brother Kelvin in his dead days, he robbed a brother and shot him.
Come on, brother.
He didn't kill him, almost. The brother's family came back and shot Brother Kelvin and didn't kill him. And the families, because they were in the neighborhood, the families got together and said, listen, y'all grew up together, y'all got to stop this. And they squashed it. And now when they see each other, it's all love.
Come on, brother.
We got to go into the community. When they see us, oh, here come the brothers with the papers. They might start going whatever. But what we say, no, I'm not coming with the paper, brother. I don't even have the paper in my hand. I just want you to hear my brother's story. Tell them what you've been through.
Right.
I saw somebody ask the question, like, we work with people that's not just Nation of Islam. Sometimes we get our Christian brother, tell them your story, at least plant the seed so they know that it's kind of like when somebody say, man, all women are dogs, right? All women can be trusted. But if you've had an experience with two women, you've had experience with women who could be trusted. In your mind, you're like, man, I can't fall for that.
That's right. That's right.
We got to think outside the box.
Wow. Yes, sir.
All praises due to Allah.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Brother
Chad, do we have any questions from the audience at this time?
We kind of been going over them as they've been coming in.
Yes, sir.
Now, Student Minister Willie, I know you was talking about, the rappers and the beef and whatnot. We also see that as we see that you have Dougie Fresh coming up. Also, if you would like to expound about
that.
Yes, sir.
Inshallah, brothers. And I definitely as I was talking to Brother James, if we were doing that, if I was doing my show every day, I'll have everybody on it. But we do it once a week. But you all are on my list, man, to come individually to get you all to have a testimony. So the purpose of this show is, in the Bible, it says Satan was defeated by the blood of the Lamb and the power of their testimony. The purpose of it is to get people to come and bear witness to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, to introduce them to a side of the minister that the enemy doesn't show.
Yes, sir.
So Dougie Fresh, Captain, salute to Brother Captain Dennis, who helped to set it up. He agreed to come on. And I'm praying that we make it happen tomorrow so he can share the powerful stuff that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has told him.
Yes, sir.
Yes, y'all have a testimony.
Yes, sir. All praises due to Allah. There's the fire. Allahu Akbar.
Yes, let us tune in for that. I got a chance to meet our dear brother. I'm in beautiful spirit. I done met him on different occasions. You know,
yes,
because, Brother Willie, I grew up in hip hop and I worked at a studio, one of the biggest studio actually in this area, and we helped to produce and record a lot of the artists. So at different events, I got a chance to run across my dear brother, and I always have a beautiful spirit, very approachable.
Yes, sir,
and we know you have love for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We don't see him at Mosque Mariam. Beautiful, beautiful brother. So we look forward to that show, dear brother.
And then, and to give you, I just sent a flyer to Brother Michael, thinking outside the box, right? When you made me think about this, and you talked about music. Yes, sir. Prior to the COVID, we would do stuff like this in the city of New Orleans. We put on a hip hop study group and cipher. Yes. We started a discussion. It was a study group, but what we were studying was the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's message to the rappers. So we put out a flyer, had local rappers in the city. When they came, we said, we sat down for the first 30, 40 minutes, discussed the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's words, and then in the last 40 minutes, we had a DJ, and the DJ would break the music out, and they would freestyle. And we told them, no, keep it clean. And most of them, they kept it clean. All of them kept it clean. Right. Yes, so through that process of doing that, we were able to get people to come to the mosque who had never come to the mosque before.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's right.
Thinking outside of the box. When Master Farah Muhammad came, guess what? He came outside of the box thinking of the scientists.
Teach, beloved.
Because they didn't think that we can come.
Right.
That's right.
And according to the book that Brother Wakil had read, Brother Wakil, The History of the Nation of Islam, Master Muhammad tried, he didn't first try with silks. He tried with something else and it wasn't working. Then he came and did the silks. So we got to approach this thing as experiment. We got to try new things, not violating the teachings, but we try new things, right? And so we got to think outside the box, man. We really do.
Beautiful, absolutely.
And that's the flyer right there with our brother.
Allahu Akbar.
And we got those Nation of Islam artists. The vast majority of them are Nation of Islam artists. That's going to be, inshallah, that's going to be during the time of y'all show. Oh.
We got to come back and watch it, brother.
Yeah, we got to come back and watch it.
That's beautiful.
As a matter of fact, we'll be hosting our student regional minister. I've been after him, brother. So we definitely don't want to miss that.
Yes, beautiful.
Dear brother, let me ask you this, Brother Willie. As you know, I'm sure you know, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the black man's problem at its root is spiritual. If you can tie that in, dear brother, expound on that, tie it into conflict resolution, and how can we convey that to our young brothers and sisters or to people in general?
If I'm not mistaken, I think that that's based upon that quote in the message to the black man in the economic development part, where the messenger was saying that the root of it, he was like, you can get him a job and all this stuff, but he said until you fix him, I'm paraphrasing, spiritually, he's still gonna have that issue. So at the root of it being spiritual, we're talking about this is at the root of it. We don't know our divine selves. What you don't know, you can't love.
Right.
Not adequately. You know, people like to say, like, I love everybody. Like, stop that, right? right now, there's a man in China named Mr. Lee. If we was to ask, do we love Mr. Lee? People would try to say, yeah, I love him as a human being. But what if you found out Mr. Lee was a pedophile?
Go ahead, brother.
What if you found out Mr. Lee was working with the Chinese government and the U.S. government trying to actively take the life of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan? Would you love him?
Teach me, brother.
So our love is based upon what we know of Mr. Lee.
Yes, sir.
What if we found out if Mr. Lee was taking the minister's lectures, trying to pass them all over China? Oh, man, we'll love Mr. Lee.
Teach, man.
Love is based upon knowledge.
That's right.
So when we begin to know ourselves, we can love ourselves. And the problem is the enemy he has made us believe that we have more of a spirit of the enemy than of God.
Come on, brother. Teach.
Because the Most High Elijah Muhammad said that when you love yourself, it then begins to start feeding out when you will love others. Right. The Most High Elijah Muhammad pointed out, he said that my followers don't have the issues with white folks like the so-called Negro does. Yes, because we learn how to love ourselves and we begin to demand a certain thing from them.
That's right.
So it's at the root of it, as the scripture says, Brother James. How can you say you love God whom you have never seen?
Teach, beloved.
But hate your brother who you see every day?
That's right.
And then the scripture comes back and says you do that because you don't know, you don't love God. And you don't know how valuable you are to God. So here's a scriptural example in the book of Exodus. God came himself and raised up Moses. Moses' heart was for the people that God loved. So much so that when Moses came and saw an Egyptian beating up on one of the Hebrew people, Moses slayed the Egyptian.
That's right. That's
only
right.
to come back 3 days later, some days later, and the very one he saved from the Egyptian's hands was now beating up one of his own kind.
They go there.
Yes, sir.
That man didn't realize that God had came for them.
Teach.
How can you do harm to the very people God has come for, but then you be a victim to the very people God has come to punish and destroy?
Wow.
We really don't know who we are. Like, there are a lot, and I speak for myself, there are a lot of things that we hear and we repeat as in a nation, but we don't know the depth of it.
That's true.
Elijah Muhammad said that God came and told him that the black man and woman, our mental condition in America is a state of death.
Teach, man.
Like we say that black folks are mentally dead, but do you really understand what that means?
Come on, Brother Willie.
That means that, they're walking alive, but here they're mentally dead, right?
Right.
Yes, sir.
And their condition is so bad. Their condition was so bad, brother, that even when prophets saw us in this day and time, they were shook.
That's right.
Wow. In the second surah of the Holy Quran,
come on, brother.
Abraham saw our condition and he turned to God. He said, God, how will you raise this dead nation?
Yes,
and Allah said this. He said, Abraham, do you doubt that my ability to raise this dead nation? And listen what Abraham said. He said, no, sir, God. He said, no, sir, Allah. He said, I only ask that my mind may be at ease.
Teach me, beloved.
Because he saw the condition in which people were in. He was like, remember in the book of Genesis, it said that Abraham went to sleep and he had a nightmare when he saw what we were in.
That's right.
That's right.
That's
So
right.
look at this. Look at the beauty of this, though. I asked people, and even brother James, in the training, we asked people, do you have a faith or a belief greater than Iblis?
Teach, beloved.
Say, yeah. Iblis never doubted God's ability to raise the black man and woman out of that condition.
That's right.
He didn't say, respite me to the day where you may raise them.
That's right.
He said, respite me to the day that you raise them.
That's right.
Even no matter how much I'm going to make these people mentally dead, God, I know you are going to raise them alive. And guess what? Each and every one of us as believers are testament that the black man and woman can live again.
That's right. Teach.
Wow.
Teach.
Praise is due to Allah.
Yeah. Allahu Akbar.
Allahu
Beautiful teaching.
Akbar. Yes, sir. And this is why it is so important to have an example.
An example
that speaks volumes more than any words can speak, and to make our testimonies. Because oftentimes, brother, people looking at us in our redeemed and reformed state have no idea from whence we came, the condition from which we came. And so therefore the testimony, and I remember you quoting that scripture, the testimony is that which will convince the people.
The testimony.
All praises to Allah.
We gotta, man, we gotta think, we gotta, I'll say this, man. I was listening to the Breakfast Club and they had the guy who ran for president, Yang, the Yang dude, Andrew Yang, whatever. And he was talking about the US Constitution. And he was talking about how there's some aspects of the US Constitution that are outdated, right? He was talking about some things that it just needs to be changed. But what happens is people get bogged down to tradition and afraid to change traditional practices.
Right.
Yes, sir.
And they use that fear to say, you got to stay doing it this way. And we're not thinking, right? Like, you got to begin to start looking at it. Okay, now how do we apply this now?
Come on, brother Willie. Yes,
how do we think outside the box? No, we're not changing the religion. But what about the practices? Not the practice. What about our outreach?
Right.
Man, one of the things that we used to do here in the city, well, I use this modern example. We started off like this to show you how it evolved. We would take a CD of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and have the cover on the copy of it made into a flyer. Had the mosque information and all of this. Because most people, when you were given a flyer, what would they do with it? They throw it away.
Throw it away. Yes, sir.
Put a CD and a DVD in your hand, and we roll up, and they were at that time that they bouncing their music. Hey, man, put this in right fast.
That's
Not
right.
the minister over music or just the minister, a short speech by the minister.
Yes, sir.
And here's another thing. Most people now are getting their information off of YouTube.
Come on, brother.
So what if we did this when we go out? This is what we're going to do, brothers. I know you got your final call, but we're going to start a competition. This is our mosque or our study group's Instagram page. This is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's Twitter page. When you talking to brothers and sisters, we want to see who could, who can get the most people to take out their phone and follow the minister on Twitter.
Come on, brother. Teach, man.
So when we leave, they connected directly to the source.
Right.
Yes,
directly to the source. Is in the Instagram page. Now they connected directly to your mosque page, your study group page.
Right.
And then we're feeding them videos of the minister that are a minute long, 2 minutes long, 3 minutes long.
Snippets, yes.
It's thinking outside the box.
Yes, sir.
And not being afraid to say, let's try something new.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's excellent advice there, brother. Excellent advice. We're moving towards the top of the hour. It is 8:44. And I know you've mentioned it, and we have the information scrolling at the bottom of the screen. However, dear brother, I'd like you to offer to the viewing and listening audience how they could get your magnificent writings, especially the book, Understanding Master Fard Muhammad. Yes,
I'm honored to have the opportunity to come back on next Thursday with our brother Dimitri. But they can go. They can go to. Man, I'm gonna give you a website. They can go to mosque. They can go to this mosque46.org.
Yes, sir.
Mosque46.org. And when they go there, it's gonna. They can get all access to my books and etc. They can also go to our YouTube page, Mosque46AV, and subscribe to our YouTube page.
Yes, sir.
And lastly, I want to say this, and I mean this, dear brothers. What you all are doing, continue to keep doing it. because you are exposing people to the talent that we have around the nation.
Yes,
and I mean, just to look, man, like, man, y'all brothers are sharp. Just to look. Keep doing, keep doing it, man. Keep thinking about ways to grow. Keep thinking about different things to do to get,
absolutely, brother.
And keep working, man. Don't put yourself inside of a box.
Yes, sir. That's
Go
right.
ahead, brother.
The only thing that's inside of a box is something that doesn't have life, brother.
Right. Come on.
Teach.
That's true.
That's a good point. Praise be to Allah.
Beautiful.
Brother Kamal, if you can hear me, or Brother Michael, whoever's available, if we could put that information at the bottom of the screen again, where our brothers and sisters and those listening can access the information, the book, and any other information that our dear brother, Student Minister Willie, is offering to the people. You can access that and put that back up there. We would greatly appreciate it. But in the meantime, Brother Willie, as we're moving towards the close of the show, we want to give you the next 10 minutes to continue to teach, brother. So go ahead and teach, man.
In regards to it's like, brother, I would say this, Brother James, to all of those believers who are watching, who have talent and skills, you got to come forward, right?
That's right.
One of the things I love about Captain Dennis Muhammad,
yes, sir.
Look at the way that the lessons are set up. It starts off with the instructions by Master Farah Muhammad. He examines his student to see if his student understands what he taught him, and then the student has to take what he learns and go solve problems.
That's right.
And there's a reward for the problems that he solved. Some of them are financial, some of them are spiritual rewards, some of them they get more knowledge in the Quran, right?
Yes, sir.
As believers, it is now time for us to take what we have and begin to start finding programs that we can put it in the way of a program or some outreach initiative and go outside of the mosque.
Yes, sir.
Begin to find a way to work with other people. We gotta begin to start doing this for those in mosque and study groups. We have to look at the talent that we have in our mosque and study groups and see how we can use that talent to provide a service to the community.
That's right.
If you got somebody that's a dentist in the study group or mosque, how could they use that to provide a service? If it's once every month, this dentist is going to come in and give a free teeth cleaning to somebody.
Right.
Is this service? You got a lawyer in the mosque. Maybe you can open up and we can talk to brothers and give them some guidance about who on child support.
Right.
Yes, sir.
We used to host. There was a sister who was coming around prior to COVID. She was a lawyer. We held like sessions, men only sessions on child support for men and women.
Right.
Yes, sir.
If you got doctors, like look at the skills. If you got sisters or brothers who are educators who can teach reading, hey brother, why not open the mosque and a study group if you can just give 1 weekend out of the month just to teach some basic reading skills?
Absolutely.
People that know how to use computers. We want to open, we want to put a flyer out. We want to invite the community, or we're going to go into the community and we want you to teach the elders how to pay their bills online or how to use an email.
Come on, that's true.
So, because if we begin to start providing service, then the people are going to, when they have a problem, they're going to look to the mosque for a service.
Go ahead, brother. Teach, man.
That's true.
That's excellent, brother.
Absolutely.
And just to reiterate the importance of what you're saying, our effort is just that, Brother Student Minister Willie. We're blessed now to be on Thursday, once again, with you and Student Minister Dimitri for part 2 of Understanding Master Fard Muhammad. We had a wonderful seminar conducted by our dear brother, working behind the scenes, Brother
Michael Shabazz.
Brother Michael Shabazz. We refer to him as the realtor of the gods.
That's
He has affected many believers and helped many believers in getting their first home, myself included.
There you go.
So
beautiful, brother.
The seminar was wonderful. I've been on him to have it again. In fact, about it, if we could have something 2 or 3 times a week, because this platform, again, spiritual expression, teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that's what it's for. No question about that. But we have to make it that which offers the service, as you said, the needs of the people. The needs of the people. So on that point, for those of you who have something to offer to your people, email me at closingthegapbroadcasting.com. Once again, that's closingthegapbroadcast.com. That's the email address of the show. And if you have something substantial to offer, bring it.
Bring it.
We want to lift our people. And that's what the 9 ministries are about, Brother Willie.
That's it.
We can actually start implementing some of those ministries, not one of those ministries, through this platform.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Like the brother, he's not in the nation, the real estate mogul in Atlanta. I can't think of his name, who's been going around teaching. He goes from city to city teaching real estate on the corner classes.
Yes, sir.
We got a brother right in our ranks. If he just went in and just tell people, because if you don't know, the process of buying a house can be very intimidating for people if you don't know.
Tell me about it, brother.
What if he just said,
sir.
listen, I'm just going to teach you, this is the process of how, these are the steps when buying a house. So when somebody go buy a house, when they sitting in a barbershop or in a restaurant, man, how did you get your house? Man, you know, the Muslims came in and the brother broke it down very simple to help me to understand the process.
That's right.
We got a brother, like we got people that can teach people how to clean their credit. Come in the neighborhood, let me show you these some basic things on how to clean your credit. And if you want more, this is the service. I actually do this as a business. I can help you. But we can do basic things like telling people, they tell people if you got a certain balance in your credit card, don't spend over this percentage.
Go ahead, brother.
Just teaching people that.
Teach and train. Come on.
Providing a service.
Yes.
That's right.
Master Farad Muhammad provided a service.
That's right.
Provide a service.
That's right. Absolutely.
Thank you, brother.
Oh, praise God.
Thank you, brother student minister.
Absolutely.
Thank you all, man.
It is 8:53.
Yes.
And as all of you who've been regular on our show, listening and viewing this broadcast, you know, at the end of the show, we always make this appeal, and we will continue to do so. If what you heard to you, whether by our present guest, Student Minister Willie, or any of the previous guests, you believe it is the truth and it is good for you and good for your people, then we want you to go right now or as fast as you can to www.noi.org/join. Make your declaration that you want to become a registered member of the Nation of Islam under the leadership and guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. If you admire what you are hearing, what you are seeing, know that we are products of the beneficence of our dear brother, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and his redemptive and resurrecting and reformative work.
It's a fact.
We aren't what we will be, but we certainly are not what we were before.
Yes, sir.
And I can tell you, brother, the change, and sister, the change will occur in the twinkling of an eye, just as the scripture teaches us. So once again, I want to thank you, Brother Student Minister Willie.
Yeah.
Look forward to seeing you, Brother Student Minister Dimitri, and hopefully Sister Starla as well on Thursday. And for those of you, again, who want to offer something via this platform, please email us at closingthegapbroadcasting.com. Closing the Gap Broadcasting at Gmail. And we'll be glad to consider your request to use us as a platform to enlighten and to serve your people and all who will be tuning in by the grace of Allah. We want to ask you once again, as our dear brother put it up there is a financial obligation to putting this show on. And so therefore, we want to ask you to help us with your donations. Nothing is too small, and certainly nothing is too big. Donate. Make your donation to jkingdom1@aol.com. That's for PayPal. And the Cash App address is $closing gaps. We appreciate your support. It is by your support that we can continue in this effort. Yes. So thank you, beloved listening audience. Thank you again, Brother Student Minister Willie.
Thank you, brother.
Seeing you next week.
Yes,
and
sir.
May Allah bless, and thank our viewing and listening audience.
Yes.
May Allah bless all of us with the light of understanding as we greet you in peace. Oh, brother, go ahead, Brother Chad.
Yes, one more thing. Just want to remind everyone to tune in tomorrow on NOI.org to see and to hear from Student Minister Ishmael Muhammad, the National Assistant to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, to watch part 2 of The Lull Before the Storm.
Yes, sir.
After a long delay. So make sure you tune in tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and also 10 a.m. Central Time. Please tune in tomorrow at NOI.org once again. Thank you.
And don't forget, thank you, Brother Minister Chad. Don't forget, next Saturday.
Yes.
Next Saturday.
Yes.
The long sought after. No, I'm just saying that because I've been trying to get my regional minister on, and of course, he's very busy. And next Saturday, we will be blessed by the help of Allah to host our dear brother and student regional representative of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the 7th region, Student Minister Patrick Muhammad. You do not want to miss that.
No.
All praises due to Allah.
Wow. Beautiful.
Yes, so, Brother Kamal, if we could cue the announcements. And let me say this too, which I wanted to include in the announcements. I have the book here. Those of you who are members of the Nation of Islam, and maybe some others, know that the name of this broadcast, Closing the Gap, was not of my origination, nor Brother Chad's or anyone's, other than the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Interviews of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Without that man, I'm telling you, and every time I talk about him, my eyes get glazy because I know what he has done for me and for others. I was blind, but now I see. I was lost, and now I'm found. I was hungry, and now I have been and am being fed. Our beloved and blessed Redeemer, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I refer to him as my personal Savior.
That's right.
All praises due to Allah. Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Willie. We're going to go to the closing announcements. We'll be talking, dear brother. Thank you, Brother Chad. Thank you, Brother Kamal. Thank you, Brother Michael. May Allah, and thank you, brothers and sisters who have been tuning in. May Allah bless us all with the light of understanding as we greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum.
There is a need in our community for a universal change. And it has to start with the man. Being a man of God means being a man possessed of the knowledge, the spirit, and the power of God, anointed to do his will. To build a people, you first must make man. Every man, no matter what his color, no matter what his race,